Diego, welcome back to Paper Napkin Wisdom. I am so stoked to have you back again today.
Thank you very much. I can't believe I'm back here. Thank you for having me again.
We were jamming, and there were so many things that we were riffing on in part one of Defy Expectations, and that was the napkin that you shared. That I just, we left at the end of the conversation saying we just have to continue this conversation because there was so much we didn't get to, and and so I want to remind listeners, why did you share Defy Expectations with me? What was the reason for that being your pearl of wisdom?
Because I think it's in the core of everything we've done, or it's gotten me here. Like I said, an actor from Spain, it's not meant to put sherry in tequila. I mean, it's not meant to start a liquor business. A kid from Akron is not meant to be a billionaire and the best player to ever play the game of basketball. A kid from, a small town in Austria is not meant to be the best movie star, the best bodybuilder, and governor of California. And those are investors. And that kind of the group of people that make this company is what we are. So I think defining expectations and not being constrained what, your destiny is meant to be or whatever it is, it's who we are and everything I believe in. You just need to stick to your guns in some way. So I
Yeah,
think carry on to talk about it. I think I'm very excited to carry on. And as a creative, I always say the job's never done. You just run out of time. So I'm glad we have a little time.
yeah, well said. So, all right. So where we left off was we talked about the journey. You'd sort of gotten you sort of talked a little bit about how LeBron, how you came into the table with 20 tequilas,
Yeah.
including yours, which I now have a bottle of yours.
Thank
So
you.
the reposado. So we have so you have that taste test, that mind-blowing taste that you have to go through, that set of what sets you different, what sets you apart. You we didn't really talk about how you brought Arnold on, but we talked about how enough was never enough, right? He brought
Yeah.
that lesson to you as well.
Yeah.
But really glossed over was this idea that you launched this, like you started taking this to the streets during the pandemic, right? I mean, what was that like? What was that all about?
It was crazy. And to be honest, the hardest thing was not even launching the business because we didn't have to adapt. A lot of people ask me, is like, oh, you launched the business. How did you adapt to COVID? I was like, we didn't have a business pre-COVID. You know what I mean? Like we didn't know the world pre-COVID. So we kind of like launched, during COVID. So the adaptation. So I think a lot of business that must have launched just before had it even worse than we did, just because they said the business plan, they said, their objectives, everything around, a world without COVID, right? So we had a world with COVID. For me, the hardest part was building the team, doing this over Zooms, not being able to have creative meetings in a room as a creative and a storyteller. That was by far for me the hardest part. There's some lingering effects, that I think we're starting to run away from in the business, or kind of filter through, which is like, we were very heavy off premise. It was a business that was built in the off premise world, in the liquor stores and that kind of thing, because we didn't have an on premise, right? We didn't have restaurants, we didn't have bars, we didn't have. So a lot of the ways that you would build an alcohol business, the saying in the alcohol business is you build it in the on premise, you sell it in the off premise, right? So we just didn't have that. So we've kind of been paying for that. We've been rebuilding, gaining, bartenders trust, getting, because it was a community that they are the gatekeepers. They are the knowledge, the last kind of barrier of sales to the consumer. So that part was really, really hard. So both the team building, it was funny. I kind of signed a lease in New York for what we call the Den, obviously. And I was gonna, it was a kind of a studio law from a famous artist that's a friend of mine, and in the Lower East Side, because that's the core. Going back to defining expectations, right? So I think everyone expected us to be either Wall Street and a glass building or that kind of thing. I was like, no, we're in a 4-story walk up. Where it's a Lower East Side. It's the vibe of the business, and I signed this lease expecting to have 5, 6 employees, and it was just me. It was literally going to the office, just me building the furniture. I love building furniture. So I was like literally building. And the reason why this is recent to me is like I built this really big table, which we all kind of work and we do throw dinners and that kind of thing. And that became the marketing line that we launched because I wanted people to sit at this table and we couldn't. And it was a time that we're all so divided, and I think we're still very divided in this country. So it was, it was called Build a Bigger Table because there's always room at our table. Everyone's welcome. And if there's not enough room, we'll build a bigger table. So I was literally building this like 20-foot table in the office. And everyone's like, you're building such a big table. Like it looks so big on Zoom and that kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah. And that became our campaign. And that became how we launched.
It's so cool. I want to go back to this
Yeah.
idea of building the team, right? You
Yeah.
built a remote team, and look, your passion, your vision, the heritage, all of that came through in the first part of the podcast. That's really important to you. So when you're building a team remotely, recruiting, hiring, and bringing them on to a new brand. So new brand, new team, new everything. What were the things that you did? Because it's not normal to be able to create that kind of an international culture, international brand from nothing, from Zoom, right? So what were the things that you did to give people, inspire people? You talked about the table, but what are the other things that you did to inspire people around the story?
It was all about values. And we still hopefully hire the same way in Lobos. Like, yes, resume and you have to fit and be right for the role, but you have to fit into the set of values and the set of what we're trying to achieve here as a philosophy. And I think if you find the people that agree on that, then the rest will come. But we would do things like tastings across Zooms. Like we literally would do like you have your bottle like you have it now, and I would have it, and then we would taste it together, and we would do like different cocktail parties between the team, and it was like 6 of us or 5 of us, and between our CFO was in Toronto, and then we had California, and then it was all just remote, and we would do all this like tastings and trying to get knowledge. I would go to Mexico when the kind of the first opening. I would go to Mexico and like FaceTime people and like live stream through our distillery and be like, this is our fermentation tax, and trying to explain that and trying to get that, visual knowledge that otherwise, well, it took, a year and a half to get, or 2 years to get the people to Mexico, to get us all together. It really, you have to think outside the box. Again, you have to, going back to being cliche, but like define expectations of like how you normally would do it. It just doesn't cut it anymore.
One of the things that I think, and I said this the first time, and I think this is, again, you have really great instincts around elevating the conversation to the highest and best form. Like, I love this. I've got this visual of you running around with your iPhone in the distillery, showing people, bringing people to it, right? You're bringing people to it's one thing to send people a PDF and say, hey, look, this is how that's not what you're doing. You're defaulting to this higher form of conversation. Is that your storytelling background? Is that how you do everything always? Or is that something that you learned?
I think that's how I do everything, because I think for good or for bad, I need to see things. I need to touch things. So I just default to trying to lead by example. And if like, hey, if I need to do it, is this helping for everyone else, right? And I guess it doesn't, some people don't need it, and some people don't. Like every employee that is in Lobos, before they come in, I spend with them 30 minutes. And after they do, I spend an hour, because it's like at least, and then we get together and when I visit their markets, but it might take me 6 months to visit their market, right? If they're a salesperson in Chicago and I've just been in Chicago, it might take me 4 months to get to Chicago the next time, right? So I always spend an hour with them, running through the liquid, tasting it, touching it. What are we about? What are we not about? Because they are exactly a representation of the brand. Like you can't expect them to learn the passion out of a PDF, to your point, or a sales sheet or something like that, and we have all these videos and we have all of that, but it's just not the same.
No, it's not. And I love this. And and you know, you always talk about the liquid, and I love how focused you are on the product, right? The product is something that you are fiercely proud of. Like even when I talk about it, your body changes, right? And I haven't even tried it yet, but because I was waiting to finish this. But
Yeah.
the idea around your pride in the product and making sure everybody else is aligned with that, how important is that to you? How important is that? Because you're going from this off premise to on premise, right? So you need your team to be able to inspire people the same way you do, right?
One of the best persons I've ever met in marketing was Thea Sims, which came to the brand really early on for a while. She always said the same thing is I could make anyone's birthday a national holiday if it's fun once. If it's not fun, it won't happen twice. So the same thing comes with product. It has to start with the product. It doesn't matter how good your marketing is. It doesn't matter how much celebrity you have in. It doesn't matter how good your distribution is. If it doesn't have the product, I do not treat audience, customers, people I care about like idiots. And I think a lot of people make that mistake as business builders is like, oh, they don't know, like they don't care, that kind of thing. They might not know at the beginning what's good, but they'll catch up. You know what I mean? Like it will catch up. It will take 2 tries, it might take 3 times, but people will end up knowing the difference between good and bad. So it has to start with the product every time.
You know what? And that's so true. I didn't even realize it when I think about it. Because when I went and got this bottle, right, I bought it at the liquor store. When I was walking out, when I got to the cashier said, "Oh, Lobos 1707. That's King James brand." And
Yeah.
I went, "Yeah, but have you tried it?" He said, "Yeah, I really like it. I really like it a lot." And and he even said to me, he said, "I'd love to hear what you think because I liked it. I want to know what you think. I'm really into tequila." So that conversation wouldn't have happened if it wasn't about the product, right? If it was just about the brand.
And even worse, he might have not liked it and be like, hey, why are you buying this thing? It's like, have you tried this other thing? That's your best sales guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the guy that runs the liquor store is your best gatekeeper. Like, you know what I mean? Like he can ruin or make your brand. And it really is, in the case of a liquor business, it is one of those guys at a time. It really is a foot game. Like you that's why I'm on the street so much. That's why I'm with the people with my people on the road, because you have to talk to those guys. You have to meet those people because they could have said to you the opposite things like, why are you buying Lobos? That's trash. Have you tried so and so? That's
Or it's just another celebrity brand, right? Because
yeah.
that's what people would say about
Yeah.
a brand that wasn't quality, right? About a product that wasn't quality. If you weren't committed to quality, they just say, "Oh, that's just another celebrity brand." You're buying the name, not the product.
Which we haven't talked about, but having big names attached to the brand is both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
I, and I'll take the blessings, and especially because people like LeBron and Arnold, and they gave me the trust, and my most valuable thing to them is I get to call them and ask them from like their mind more than their image, as a founder. But it is, people will write you off, or people hate the Lakers. Like, and then like, what's gonna do with the tequila? The fact that you hate the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like the guy's
Yeah.
doing a job. You know what I mean? Like it's just, or it's like, oh, I'm more of a Sylvester Stallone fan. Great. Like, oh, good for you. I mean, it's got nothing to do with the tequila. So it is both a blessing and a curse. And some people can write you off because their opinion of, your endorsement.
Yeah. I love this idea of shoe leather. So let's go back to the idea of shoe leather, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
pounding the pavement.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the pandemic. You're trying to get on the road to build the culture, build the product, build the team. How do you now know that you're ready to go to market? Like what's the point that you realize, okay, you got to take it out of the lab, you got to go to the market and get some feedback from the market. What's that point look like, and how is that radically different for you bringing people to your table? Because people don't want to come to the table, people don't want to go out of their house, right? Like, I mean, it's the world
Well,
shut down.
the good thing of during the pandemic is we were all drinking a lot at home. So, and we were
Fair
drinking
point.
tequila.
Fair point.
Right? I always say the pandemic was a little bit like airport rules. The time doesn't matter. It didn't have to be 5 p.m. No, but jokes aside, like, so it was good time because the consumption was high, right? People were drinking even though they were drinking at home. It was bad times because we didn't have any bars, so we had to go to liquor stores. And then there's a innocent or a fullness that comes with it that would just set a date, and it was that date. You know what I mean? And we came out in November. We thought we had stock for about 6 months, and it lasted 3 weeks.
Three
So by
weeks.
3 weeks, we were sold out in 3 weeks. We were only going to launch in 3 markets, which was New York, Florida, and California. And we were sold out. And now I'm here with this company, no product. Is December, middle of the pandemic. And I'm like, oh, I am fucked. You know what I mean? Like, this is over. You know what I mean? Like, and little behold, Southern Glaciers, that is the biggest distributor in America, and it's our partner. Well, at the time, wasn't a partner. Made us an offer that we couldn't refuse, and said, "Hey, we want to go national with your product. How long do you need to do that?" So I had to go to Mexico, build enough product, make enough product, and it took us until April. So that's why I always count the launch of the company actually April.
Mm. So it's almost like November was a pilot, right?
Yeah, it was a soft launch.
Yeah, it was a soft launch. So, okay, you go from and I'm going to say this lightly because I don't know the industry as well, and don't jump on me. All right, you go from a virtual products market, which is your creative past, right? Film production to me is a virtual products. You want more product, press a button, there's more product, right? So now you have to do inventory management, inventory movement. You have the cost of goods sold and the embedded cost where you're buying things months in advance.
Skyrocketed during pandemic. Right. Logistics, products of goods sold, skyrocketed.
Right. So all of this stuff is like hitting you hard.
Yes.
In that period of time. Now, you got some great distribution partnerships.
Yes.
Talk to me about how, again, you defied expectations by even getting their attention so quickly, but how did you gain the knowledge that you needed to be able to manage your inventory management, manage all of those things? There's so many moving parts in that business.
I have an amazing CFO, Pranay. He's been my right hand since day one, and he's helped me manage cash, day one. My other the two thing I did was I literally jumped on a plane, went to Mexico, and I looked at my partners. I was like, I don't have money for the terms that we have, and I need product, and I need a lot of it. So how can we make a deal? And then we started negotiating. Being like, okay, you pay me X amount of days later, and we do this, and then so it really took just everything. And the same thing with, like, no one could get glass, and I literally basically camped outside my 2 factories, and I'm like, guys, like, what do I need to do? And like it literally went to that. I ended up having lunch with the owner of one of the factories and their family because it was a weekend, and he invited me over to his house, and now he's a close friend. But like, it literally, that's what it takes. It's just, that's what it takes. You know what I mean? Like,
I just love, again, it is old school. Like, you built this brand by standing outside of the factory where they make the glass and not taking no for an answer. I mean, that's it. It's simple, but it's not easy, right?
No, because you mix the fact that, to your point, it's a physical product. It's a product with limitations of how you make it, the board of tequila, that kind of thing. But then also you mix the Latin aspect. So I'm very blessed, obviously, that I'm Spanish and I speak Spanish, because the way, in the Latin community, you do business is, let's break bread. Let's break bread and talk about this, which is, I think, a great way. It's good and bad, right? Because, you break bread and you make good or you make bad. You know what I mean? So I just did it and did it and did it and pushed until it worked. And that's, I think one of the times it was like within days we were going to run out of glass. And I was like, how do I tell my investors that they just put millions of dollars that I don't have any product, that I haven't been able to get bottles? I just couldn't face it. So I was like, I can't sit at home staring at the ceiling. Like I need to get down there and talk to anyone I can. So that's kind of what I did.
So you did. All right. So it's pandemic. That was your
Yeah.
normal. That was
Yeah.
not an adjusted plan. You did not have to pivot
Yeah.
because that was your situation, right? And then, so there was nothing to adapt. You built the team. I love just the visual of building the 20-foot table and
Yeah.
then needing to fill people. So you did that. You used shoe leather to get out in front of people, right? So you beat the pavement, went out and met people face to face, belly to belly, broke the bread. And look, I think you speak about Latin culture, but all people, like business is about relationships. And this is
Yeah.
where I want to go to next, which is really about aligning the people, which is the relationships. How critical is it? You say how the glass manufacturer family, he's now your friend, right? It's really critical to work with people you like, right? I mean, and I think in small business, we compromise. I don't like that person, but I'm going to do this deal anyway. That doesn't work, right? That doesn't scale.
I think like might be like too good of a word. I think respect. I think for me is about respect. If I respect you, if we sit at a table and we can have a lunch and you treat the waiter nice and I do the same thing to you and that kind of thing, I'll do business with you all day long. You put your word in front of, everything else. I put mine. That will go on until time runs out. You know what I mean? I think that for me is the difference. Like, I don't have to like you. We don't have to, want to hang together. But if I respect you and you say you're going to deliver this day, and if you're not delivering, at least you're calling me and telling me why, and we can have a conversation. I'm here for it. If
Yeah.
not, then there's other glass factory. You know what I mean? Like, there's other people.
Yeah. And what I mean by like was more watching for what you like in them, the things that
Yeah.
they do, not the words that they say, and not
Yeah.
necessarily how they. Yes, I agree with you. So watching for what you like, being with people you like, so that bringing them to the table. Now, so you've got the stage set. It's November. You're gearing up towards the April launch. Let's walk me through that period of time from November to the April launch. When did you get the investors online? How did you get them online? Even how did you approach them?
It was actually one of those things that when people are racing, it was like, oh, we're already committed, but we can make some room for you and that kind of thing. It really was that. Like, I was just very honored and blessed. Obviously, the fact that you have LeBron leading the round, that you have Main Street Advisors, which is Paul Walker, the founder, who kind of took me under his wing. So I was very blessed that people believed in the product, the timing, and the vision from really early on. And it was also, it was 2020. Like, money was coming fast. You know what I mean? Like, it was a time where people wanted to invest. And, we just heard what happened to Casamigos and people were excited. And so it was, you can't buy timing, and it was just good timing. I'll take a little bit of credit for it. We built a good product. We had a good presentation. We had a passion for it, and we had a good vision or okay vision. But timing took a lot of it. I think people were sitting at home wanting to invest, wanting to do something, feel part of something, and we were blessed to really fund the whole round in about a month between those leaders. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was also about setting up all the little pieces along the way,
Yes.
and
Everything
then
was there.
yeah. So then once you did that, it was radical execution time, right? So
Yeah.
that was the point to get ready for the April launch. What expectations did you have to defy to make that happen? Like, what was that like?
Well, to start with, right, we would have gone to bars, we would have done a launch party, right? So we would have probably gotten everyone, all the celebrities in a club. We would have done, our PR people and that kind of thing. We couldn't do any of that, So that was out the door. So it was like, to your point of a digital product, this is the first time I'm working with someone that's physical, that I have to get to people. I'm like, how do I tell the story without being able to like sit in front of people? So we did two things. We did a 2-minute video of telling how it came to be. So everything that I've told you, like me going to the fields and meeting the master distillers, the barrels going from Spain to Mexico. So we did a video, and again, it was DSMs when I was trying to figure it out and talking to Paul and Maverick Carter. They were like, the truth is easy to tell, Diego. Just tell what brought us here and do it your own way. Everybody thought I was completely insane by doing a 2-minute video, but I was like, people are their homes bored. And we have to tell them and set things different from the get-go. This is going to be very cinematic. It's going to be like a movie short. Everyone's like, Diego, you just want to do another short movie. I'm like, yes, but also, this is going to be great. And we did, and then we cut it into 6, and that was our content for almost a year, and it was great. So we did that, and then to the point of storytelling, I created this book. I don't have one, but we'll send you some photos. It's like a big book that it had the bottle in it, 2 glasses, and the 2 or 3 pages were a note from me, a note from a lot of investors, and kind of telling the story of what it was. And you open this book, and it had there. It was a little like Shawshank Redemption, like the movie that had the hammer in the book. That was my inspiration for it. And obviously, we were very blessed again because our contact list between LeBron, Arnold, Paul, all our investors, all our friends, it went to a lot of people, and people were at home. So they got it, they posted about it, and this kind of, rumors started happening. But it was different. We didn't have a blueprint to follow.
So there's a saying that I love. There was a book years ago. I think it came out in the late 80s, early 90s. Anyway, the book was called Guerrilla Marketing. And the idea was that you market in an old school way, like it's guerrilla war. You go out, you pound the pavement, you give people flyers, you meet them face to face, you build relationships, you let them see you. And what I really like about it, even though that you did the 2-minute video, it's not like you sat there with the 2-minute video waiting for the likes and clicks to go up. You didn't pay for SEO I mean, you may have, but you didn't just pay for SEO marketing, but you created some bulky mail, old school, attention grabbing, guerrilla marketing style stuff that went out to people. That process, that again, it's a really great instinct, but touching people 5 ways. We used to always say, you got to touch people 5 different ways in order to get their attention.
Yeah.
That's what you were doing, right? You were making sure you touched them.
Yeah. And everything, like, there's no single thing, there's no one thing that I could tell you that made it. You know what I mean? Like, to your point, it's everything. You got to do that. And then you got to try to be in the music video and try to be in this song and try to be in that thing. Like, you just have to beat that drum every day in every which way.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. This is a sprint now, right? Like,
Yeah.
You're all out. You're going all out. Are you tired? Like, what are you doing to keep your energy buckets full through all of this? Because, dude, you've got it sounds like a lot. It sounds hard. It sounds hard.
It is a lot, but we have a great team. I have a great responsibility to do good by this. Paul Wachter always says, I have a target by the tail. Don't look back 4 years from now or 5 years from now and say, I could have done more, I could have done better. I never want to be that person. I never want to be the guy that looks 5 years from now and be like, you know what, there was an extra thing I could have done, or, and so I'm blessed to have a great team. I'm blessed that, and there's a bunch of families that depend on this business now. You know what I mean? Like, there's real responsibility, you know what I mean? We have tens of employees that affect this, and businesses, and we got to pay things right. And so that's what keeps me going. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then hopefully, at the end of the day, might be a good paycheck. Hopefully, we'll see. That is a pipe dream at this point. And right now, it's just doing things right by the people that trusted me.
Yeah. So you're doing things right by people around you, but I know that taking care of your energy is important to you, right? Like, you have a great self-care routine that's part of this, right? So you didn't let yourself go, right? You didn't just bury yourself in work and
No,
you did take
the
care of
only
yourself.
hard part is the amount of travel. I did 170 something flights last year. I think I'm in the way to do 150 this year, I think. It's that sort, but you need to, like, to your point, block a time to work out, whatever your version is, meditation, whatever. My version is working out. I need that. So that, or, block a time to talk to your family. I block my time in the calendar, and you just have to work around those scenarios. Otherwise, you would literally go insane. Like, it's just, it's impossible.
I love how you said that. You block the time in your calendar. I often say, you want to show me your priorities, show me your calendar. And on your calendar will show you what's important to people, right? People put what's important to them on their calendar. And you do that. You do that really well. So April launch comes along, it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Did that feel like a finish line or a starting line?
It felt, I always say this, and I don't know if it's appropriate for here, but because for so long, 2.5 years, I'm building this thing in my kitchen by myself. I haven't showed anyone apart from like 2 or 3 friends and, girlfriend at the time, like that kind of thing, like no one. And now it's everywhere. It's in 30 something states. It's everywhere, and from one day to the next. Because, like, yes, November was a soft launch and that kind of thing. It was pretty big, and don't get me wrong, like, I was super proud. But then now in April comes along and we're in, like, Walmart.com. Like, I mean, like, it's huge. Like, in that way, and for me, it almost felt like a nude photo that went viral of you, like something private.
It felt exposed, right?
Yeah, yeah, something that it was like private of yours that just went viral. And it didn't feel like the finish line, because then you need to get it out. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost, this business is like you're selling to distributors, and then you're selling to the accounts, and then you're selling to the final person. So, like, you're almost like, when you're done selling to one person, you have to start over again to the next. Like, I always say we have 3 types of customers, we have our distributor partners that are our partners, but we have to motivate them. We have to sell it to them, that why sell us instead of the 300 brands that they have in their bag. Then you have to sell it to the account, buy us instead of the other 300 brands that are out there. And then the consumer is the last person, right? So you have to speak their different languages. They speak different languages, have different motivations, they have different cash flow problems, like, and that understanding, and that kind of, to your point of finishing line, that never ends.
Yeah. And I think it's really important not to gloss over this. Like, a lot of entrepreneurs are listening to this because your story is like from nothing to something really fast, right? People looking outside will say, "Oh, it happened overnight."
Yeah,
It didn't happen overnight. That was not
really
overnight. It was definitely not overnight. We've heard that story. But that feeling of instant exposure, I don't think is something that people are prepared for. I think people think they want it, and then it happens, and it's like, oh, what happened here, right? Did you have that moment?
Oh, 100%. And we weren't ready. The truth is, the company was not ready. We had an external sales team, that it would have worked with the original plan. And then it takes you a few months to realize that it's not working. And then you're on your back foot. So now you're off trying to build a sales team. That's a whole new decision. Then you're building a internal sales team and everything that comes with that. So, like, you think you want it, but it's like, only if I could get the distribution, everything will be okay. And it's like, no, because that comes with a whole set of problems. You have to do things the timing right. I think we went a little too early on national chains. We're still kind of paying the price for that, and we're trying to make that work. We're very proud, and we're happy the way it's working, but it's when you look at pinpoints and looking back and everything makes sense, to your point, is like, oh, if I could only get to Walmart, if I could only sell at Walmart, everything will be okay. And if you go too soon, it is too soon for a reason. They know what they're doing. I mean, like, they really know what they're doing. So it's trusting that, and knowing when to push and knowing when to pull. No one does. And you try to do it and try to figure it out, and then deal with the problems and consequences.
That's awesome. I love how it's a constant learning process and the constant chain and the constant everything. And as you move past defy expectations to the next chapter, everybody's going to be cheering you on. I'll be cheering you on and following along. And yeah, who knows? We'll bring you back in another year, and you can tell us the next chapter and how that goes. What do you
I
think?
would love to do that, and hopefully we can sit down and actually have a drink in person, like we
Uh,
were saying.
I can't wait to be at your table.
Thank you very much. Can't wait to have you.